Shelley has co-authored sections in books. She has her blog, and her first book, One Without the Other, is scheduled to be released in early summer 2016. We will. Okay, let's give Shelley a warm welcome.
Don't start it yet. I have to tell you a joke first. My friend was tweeting her friend, and they're like, "Where are you at?" She's like, "I'm at this poetry slam for teachers." I'm like, "I'm totally gonna steal your joke." Okay, I'm ready. So, I'm Shelley Moore, and I'm here to talk about inclusive education. If you know me, I'm obsessed with inclusive education. But what I've learned is that inclusive education, we think we get it, but we really have no idea what we're doing. Because if I say to you, what is inclusive education? We all think of these things, oh, it's lovely and it's the right thing to do. But in reality, how we look at inclusive education philosophically versus practically is very, very different. And if you think about this for yourself, what does it mean? And this is kind of what you'll see. You'll be like, oh, well, we have to teach to all of our kids, and it's everyone can learn, and it feels really good. But then you're like, okay, but what does this mean on Tuesday? And you're like, I don't really know what this means. And so part of this understanding inclusion is just how do we actually bridge this gap between what we know and understand it philosophically versus what this actually looks like to teach all of our kids in a meaningful way, to bridge this gap between philosophy and practice. And we're only 4 seconds into that slide. So think about this. There's more to come. Okay, I'm just kidding. So, because I also know that teachers, no matter what you believe, I think that in order for teachers to really, really change their practice, what they change it to has to be easier than what they're already doing. We have to somehow show that inclusive education is easier, more effective, and more efficient in practice, not just philosophy. And so I want to show you this in the next 3.5 minutes, about how inclusion is important and why it's important, but not philosophically, but actually practically. And I'm going to show this to you through bowling. Do you think I can do it? Of course. Okay, so let's talk about bowling. Here we go. We have a ball, we have pins, we have a lane, and what do? We throw the ball down the middle. We aim for the middle. We kind of look at those arrows. If you're really sassy like me, you go a little bit to the right. If you don't get the ball, it's okay. You have another chance. But at the end of the day, you roll the ball down the middle. Sometimes you get them all, sometimes you don't. But if you don't get them all, what often is left standing is 7-10 split. And it's where the pins are on the total outside, right? Now, this is the hardest shot in bowling. You can be a professional, you can be an amateur. If there's a PhD in bowling, this will be the hardest shot. In fact, they call this the ball buster for a reason, because in professional bowling, it's been televised professionally for 55 years, and in that time, this shot has only been hit successfully 3 times. It is very, very hard because you have to kind of hit one, it has to bounce up the backboard, which I bet you didn't even know existed, and has to come back out, and if you don't get them, you miss it, and you miss both. So then my question to you is, how is bowling like teaching? We aim for the middle, we do the best we can. Sometimes we get them all, sometimes we don't. But our pins that are left standing are our kids who need the most support and our kids who need the most challenge. And the chances of getting both of them with one shot is the hardest shot in teaching. And so we're left choosing one. And then the rest stare at us. It's the most depressing metaphor in bowling. I've had a really good time with you tonight. Good luck figuring that out. Aren't you glad I closed the session tonight with that? So we have these kids staring at us, and we feel horrible, and then go to Ignite sessions and drink a lot. But I was really curious about this, so I actually called up a professional bowler because I noticed. Is anyone here a professional bowler? Anyone? Oh, did I see a hand? That was really exciting. Well, I was really curious about this because I was watching professional bowling one day and I noticed that professional bowlers never roll the ball down the middle. They throw the ball down the lane at a curve. And so I called up a professional bowler and I'm like, yo, you throw the ball down the lane at a curve, why do you do that? And he's just like, well, you create a bigger domino effect if you aim for, not the middle, but you aim for the pins on the furthest to the outside. So let's just think about this for a second and bring this back to teaching. What would happen if our practice changed, but all we did was change our aim to the kids that are the hardest to hit? And how would that create a domino effect to get to the other kids? Because actually, it's more effective, it's more efficient, and it's easier. Because the supports that we put into place for those outside pins are actually supports that more than the outside pins need. So if we think about this, why is inclusion important? Practically, it's because we need the diversity. We need the outside pins. And just like the bowling pin said, he's like, you know, you can get rid of those outside pins and put them in a lane altogether, but then you're just left with a new set of outside pins. So you can choose to use the outside pins. But my question to you is, if the only thing you did on Tuesday morning was change your aim, how would that change your teaching? Thank you.